Hello, hello. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, there is a lot to talk about today. So I apologize. I haven't been getting these videos out with regularity over the last few days, but I've had a lot going on. It's a busy week. Just came off of Skankfest, which was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who came out. Great time. And yeah, so yeah, sorry, been busy. I'm headed out to Mises University tomorrow morning, and so yeah, I'm gonna bring my stuff and I'll make some videos from there. So that should be pretty fun. All right, so topic for today's video is the Trump Putin Summit and the insanity in the fallout that's been going on for the last 24 hours, which is really quite something. It is just it's freaking amazing. I'm just watching right now. As I'm recording this, Donald Trump is speaking about the summit, and I watched the first few minutes of it, and then I figured I kind of got the gist of it, so let's make a video. But holy shit, does Donald Trump have an ability to drive the media insane? And look, Donald Trump does a lot of things that bother me. A lot of things that I'm like, man, he has such an opportunity to do things differently, but he keeps so many of the same bad policies going. But the thing that Donald Trump does that I love more than anything is that he provokes the media into exposing themselves, unlike anybody I've ever seen. I don't know if there'll ever be another person with this same ability. So Donald Trump, and I did a video on the Trump Putin Summit like maybe a month and a half ago, several weeks back. And I knew this was what was going to happen. I knew the mainstream media was going to lose their shit. Donald Trump would go there. He would just be nice. He would say, hey, let's pursue a good relationship. And the media loses their collective minds. So think this through for a second, okay? If Donald Trump could bomb a country and not get a fraction of the scrutiny that he gets from the mainstream media for talking to somebody, for going and talking to the Russians and being nice to them. And then it's like these guys, they don't even realize what they're doing. They just don't even see themselves. Donald Trump had the nerve to not say, I blindly trust the CIA. And the entire mainstream media is saying this is treason. So basically the entire mainstream media is letting you know that they work for the CIA, essentially, or at least in effect. It's like, yep, that's why we're here. That's why we're here to make sure that nobody ever questions the deep state. Because what patriot would do that? All the headlines all day, all day yesterday, Donald Trump sides with Russia over America. What is since when did the CIA become America? Like, that's me, that's you, that's just like the mountains and the suburbs and the cities. That's the CIA is America. Oh, he sided with Putin. So Donald Trump, this is, and he just said it in his remarks a second ago, this is Donald Trump keeping a campaign promise. And I got to say, this was one of Donald Trump's best campaign promises. So back in the campaign in 2016, you had Hillary Clinton, who was obviously the favorite of the Democratic establishment and much of just the establishment in America. And she was, the DNC was doing everything they could to cheat Bernie Sanders out of that race. So Hillary Clinton, the Democrat nominee, and Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush, the guys who the Republicans wanted to be the nominee, they wanted one of them, they were all running on a no-fly zone in Syria. A no-fly zone they were running on enforcing a no-fly zone in an area where Russian planes were flying. So they were basically campaigning on, we're going to go to war with Russia. That's what they were running at. And Donald Trump came out and said, maybe we could talk to Russia and work with them to take out ISIS and stop going into this insane regime change business that we've been in for the last 15 years. That has been a disaster, okay? That was what Donald Trump ran on. And that is way better than going to war with Russia. I don't know who, other than these psychopath war hawks, would think that, no, it's a better idea to start shooting down Russian planes and go have another regime change in the Middle East, because that works out so well. Who would say that? Who would be on that side? Well, pretty much 95% of the mainstream media. That's who. Okay? If you are anything other than a bloodthirsty war hawk, you should be happy about the Trump Putin Summit. That's it. Okay? If you want to just come out and say, "Hey, I'm a warmonger and I believe that the US should be an empire and dominate the world," then okay, fair enough. You can be against the summit. But anything short of that, if you're anti-war, if you think maybe these wars haven't worked out that well, maybe we don't need to needlessly get into another one, okay, then it was a good thing. Then it was a good thing. That's it. It's unbelievable to me to watch, for me to watch. And I got to say, it's like the stuff with Russia there's a lot of background to it, and I won't be able to like get into all of it in this video, but just kind of broad strokes. So Russia, right, was the Soviet Union was our big partner in World War II, and we were basically the major forces that won. I mean, England won, but they, their empire pretty much broke up. The only two powers that came out of World War II with an empire still to speak of were the United States of America and the Soviet Union. And pretty much right by the end of the war, even before the war is actually over, the United States of America started realizing, okay, now that we're trying to be an empire, this is our big competition, is the Soviet Union. And they ended up taking over like half of Europe. We ended up basically taking over the other half. I mean, maybe not directly, but we were bankrolling everybody, and they're basically doing what we want them to do. So this ushered in the Cold War. Just a few years later, we're fighting a war in Korea. Then a few years after that, Vietnam, and then it was just theaters all over the world. And this was the conservatives' excuse to grow the military-industrial complex. So people like Bill Buckley, right, who's like one of the biggest, most influential figures in the like modern neoconservative world. He basically said that, like, in his heart, he was a libertarian, but because there was this threat, the Soviet Union, the Red Menace, because there was this huge threat, we had to build up a giant bureaucracy here on our homeland, and, we just had to deal with big government because we need this huge military just to make sure that the Soviet Union, is kept at bay, that we contain the evil empire. So when the Soviet Union fell, the logical thing after that would have been to say, oh, okay, well, now we no longer need that. Like, if you believed the first part, if you believed that the only reason we needed a giant military-industrial complex was to keep the Soviet Union at bay, well, the Soviet Union fell, so no more problem, right? But that's not what happened. George H.W. Bush took over the presidency, so we had a CIA deep state man in the Oval Office, and as soon as the Soviet Union fell, we just got more aggressive. Like, once it became clear that they were breaking up, we're like, oh, we're going to war with Iraq. So all of a sudden, this area in the Middle East where we were competing with the Russians for who had the most influence, who could have what puppet government where, well, once the Soviet Union collapsed, we're like, now's the time to make our move. Now's the time to get in there and really start, exerting our influence, because we don't think Russia's going to do anything. And a lot of the people in George H.W. Bush's administration wrote about this, and they wrote about the first Persian Gulf War they wrote about it being such a success for a few different reasons. Like, number one was that it cost so little, and we barely like lost any people in the war. And I mean, in hindsight, the fact that we still have troops there in 2018, that's might show you that it wasn't quite as easy as it was a little bit more costly than they thought it would be. But one of the things that those guys wrote about was that the Russians did nothing. They were like, look, we went into the Middle East and the Russians aren't doing anything. Now we can have our way. Now, what I said about how, a lot of the like real true hardcore conservatives were disgusted by this, because they were like, what are we doing? We just, the Soviet Union collapsed. We should be abolishing NATO, slashing our military budget, returning to the idea of a small, limited government. That's why people like Pat Buchanan and Russell Kirk, I mean, they were furious with George H.W. Bush. Pat Buchanan even ran against him. He tried to primary him. So basically, since then, the United States of America has been more and more aggressive toward Russia, and we've gone all throughout the Middle East, toppling dictators. We've tried our best to undermine the regimes that are somewhat friendly to Russia, like Syria and Iran, and over the last couple decades, NATO has been encroaching more and more toward Russia. Like we said, we would never, go after Poland, went after Poland. All these different things that have been more and more aggressive, and yet all you hear in the mainstream media over here is about, I don't know, like how Russia fucking annexed Crimea or something like that. Like, what a joke. We're the world empire. We're bombing more countries than our people can find on a fucking map. But you'll sit here and be outraged over Russia, annexing, a little area on their border where it's like 80% Russian-speaking people. It's insane. Or you hear something about like how Russia treats its gay people. Like, oh my God, they're so horrible that they're gay people. While we, sell $100 billion in weapons to the Saudis. Yeah, let me tell you something. Russia doesn't treat their gay people well. It's not cool how they treat their gay people, okay? But if you were a gay dude in Saudi Arabia and you escaped and made it to Russia, you would start kissing the pavement. You would be like, oh my God, freedom. I've never known what it felt like before. So the idea that we're like so upset with their, how they treat their LGBT community or something like that, it's all just, it's insanity. So since everything with the 2016 election, things have gotten far worse in our relationship with Russia, which, by the way, have already not been good, but they've gotten far worse. And this is basically because when all of the really embarrassing stuff that came out in the DNC leaks or hacks, which we don't really know what it was, I tend to lean toward leaks, but when all that stuff came out, they kind of needed to cover that up. And what the media was able to do was kind of spin the story into Russian interference in the election. But by the way, when they say this stuff, like even when Trump's like, yeah, okay, so maybe the Russians did interfere. That's what he said today. It's like what they're not clear about, right? They're just like, well, all 13 agencies of the deep state all believe that, Russia interfered. It's like, oh, can we see any of that evidence? Well, no, they don't want to show it to us because what does interfere mean? What does that mean? They placed Facebook ads? They had some bots on Twitter. What does that mean? But if you just say interference, it kind of leaves you like feeling like, oh my God, they like hacked into voting machines or something. But there's no evidence that's been put forward that Russia changed one vote. We have no idea. Interfered. Okay, so then fine. Then Russia's guilty of interfering in the 2006 election and the 2012 election and the 2008 election. And oh, by the way, the U.S. is guilty of interfering in every single Russian election as well. So it's literally meaningless. Anyway. When all that stuff came out about the DNC, there was some pretty embarrassing stuff. Like, the fact that the DNC was colluding with the Hillary Clinton campaign. The fact that Hillary Clinton was straight up colluding with the media. That she had CNN leaking her debate questions. That we know that she got 2 different debate questions that were asked of her in debates. So they're giving her the questions ahead of time. Like, this whole thing's a sham. Now, that all came out, but none of the media wants to talk about that. All they wanted to talk about was, my God, Donald Trump made a flippant comment about how it was like, hey, Russia, if you got the rest of those emails, I'd love to see him. Like, okay, guess what? I'd love to see him too. And so would pretty much so would anybody who's looking for the truth, who's not a partisan hack. They'd want to see him as well. So now you got people in the media and in the deep state pushing this narrative that like Russia's at war with us. They're undermining our democracy. Oh, look, Trump made a great point, okay, when he was over there. He said, between us and Russia, we have 90% of the world's nukes. 90% of the world's nukes between these two countries. Are you really going to tell me you don't think they should try to talk to each other? Maybe we should try. What is it that makes Russia a geopolitical enemy of ours? What is it? Do you have any interest in... they annexed Crimea? Why does America have an interest in Crimea? What is it? Should Russia have a strong opinion on our border policy with Mexico? Who cares? That has nothing to do with us. There's no reason for us to not try to get along. And I don't know what type of insane you have to be. What type of insane you have to be to think it's an outrage that 2 countries who control 90% of the world's nukes, oh my God, they got together and said some nice things about each other. Oh my God. This is a disaster. It's freaking amazing. It's amazing. We're in the longest wars in American history. And by the way, Donald Trump, I'm not saying if you're anti-war, you should support Donald Trump. In fact, I think if you're anti-war, you can't support Donald Trump. I mean, the guy's spending more money on the military budget now than we were at the height of the Iraq and Afghanistan war. But who is saying this is like great? Like, okay, so you want to just keep sending men and women over to die, sending men and women over to go kill innocent people, destroying nations, and spending $1 trillion a year to do it? Who wants this? It's no surprise that the American people always vote for the most anti-war candidate. Trump was more anti-war than Hillary Clinton. Barack Obama was more anti-war than John McCain or Mitt Romney. This is why Bernie Sanders gets a lot of support, why Ron Paul got so much support, or at least a big part of it. And it's like, yeah, okay. But now if you listen to these people on the news, it's like when Obama did the deal with Iran, he got hit harder than when he destroyed Libya. Donald Trump the casualties have been going up under Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, under his watch, he's bombed the crap out of like maybe 7, 8 different countries. Anybody see any coverage on that? Next to nothing. Next to nothing. But this, oh my God, he's making friends with a foreign power. What does that tell you about the mainstream media? What does it tell you about them? That if you murder people, that's okay. But if you compliment people, that's a scandal. What does it tell you about the mainstream media? That if you criticize the CIA, it's blasphemy. Man, I'll tell you, the thing I like the most about the Trump administration is that the media and the deep state keep getting more and more exposed, and I look forward to more of it. All right, guys, I'm flying out first thing in the morning to Mises University tomorrow. Can't wait for it. Gonna go hang out with a whole bunch of my heroes. So that should be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll put out some more videos while I'm over there. And I'll have a new part of the Problem Podcast will be out tonight. Sorry, it's my schedule's gotten a little messed up, but Skankfest was quite an event, and I'm an old man, and I feel like I got hit by a bus, so I'm still in recovery mode. Anyway, I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.